Hi, this is Anna from Post Me a Book. I was realizing I don't watch or hardly watch any male book channel YouTubers. And I was wondering, is this conscious or is it an unconscious thing that I'm just choosing female booktubers? And I was thinking, what the heck? Why? So I decided I better branch out because, this is not good. I think it was an unconscious thing, really. I think I just started in the beginning when I first started watching BookTube. I watched different, both male, female, either or, in between, made no difference. And then I don't know what happened. After a while, I just sort of started watching this female booktubers, um, book, yeah, booktubers. That's what you're called. Should think I'd know by now. Anyway, and no, there is. I do watch Jim from Great Books, Big Ideas, I think it's called. Always forget what it's. Big Ideas, Great Books. Oh, anyway, I'll put it down. I do watch his channel because I do enjoy listening to his take on different encyclopedias, and he's done I forget what it's done. The Western World, Books of the Western World. I'll have to put it down because I forget what the actual title was. I thought that was very interesting. I'm sure I probably never quite get around to reading it, but it was definitely educative. And now I have decided to branch out. So having reached this thing that I am discriminating against male or men booktubers, I thought, let me just watch one, a random one. Well, it probably wasn't quite random, actually. I can't quite remember why I just stopped on Smitty 143. But he was reviewing, I know, he was reviewing sci-fi books, his top 5 sci-fi books. And it's been a long time since I read sci-fi, and I did enjoy sci-fi back in the day. So I was ready to hear something on sci-fi because I actually want to read something new. So anyway, back to this story. So Smitty143, who was reviewing his books, he mentioned his top book was by Christopher Ruocchio. And he gave it such a great review, really said that he really enjoyed it, hands down, that I just thought, okay, let me get back into sci-fi by reading a great book. But having said that, I then had to go into the library, check for that book, because this is a book of series. I don't know how many, but it's a series. And I think the one that he said was that he really enjoyed was book 3. I'm not sure. Well, perhaps you have to read book 1, book 2, and book 3. But I have got book 2, which I managed to get from the library. Book 1 is not available just yet, so it's on reserve. But I actually did get book 4 as well. Because normally for me, I have to say, I'm not that bothered if I don't read book 1, book 2, book 3, and 4 in that order, even though the story follows. I think I'll survive. But I won't read book 4 first because it's not necessary. I might actually just read book 2, which is called Dark Howling. I think if one wants a review, obviously there's sci-fi book channels that one can check out. I'll read this one just for my own pleasure. I'll read book 1 when I can borrow it, and then book 2 and book 3 as well, just to see whether they are as good as he says they are. And then perhaps do a review on 1 or 2 or something like that. I did read a book that was by a booktuber who's called, I forget, she's called Florence, that's it. And she's One More Podcast or something like that. I will put it down on the list. And she was talking about patriarchy in African literature. And she mentioned one particular book. I don't have the physical copy, so I'll put it up there somewhere, which is called So Long a Song. No, So Long a Letter, which was an excellent um, novella, and it is written by Mariama Ba, was a Senegalese author. She's also passed away. She is writing. It's about a woman called Ramatulua who is writing a letter to a friend of hers who has left and now living in America, but they grew up together in Senegal and they went to school together. And Ramatului, she's writing a diary or a series of letters to her friend, and it starts off with the death of her husband. She's at the funeral, and she's Muslim, and by Muslim rights, she has to go through a period of 40 days of mourning where she stays in a certain place with the second wife. And during this period of time, she's writing these letters to her friend, talking about how life has turned out, how she came to marry her husband, Madhu, or estranged husband, but also the bitterness she feels, the bitterness, I guess, she feels because her husband, who they were much in love. Her mother had always told her, "Don't go for this man. Don't marry him. He's too good looking, too sleek." But she felt when she married him that he was really the one that she wanted, and they were in love, and he managed to court her, if you will, in the way that she couldn't resist. And I think they must have had many good years, because she recounts her marriage, some of it, as being happy, but then her husband takes another wife, and Ramatolui, I'm probably saying that wrong. She recounts to her friend how this was all such a shock for her and how it came about. Ramatolui, she had 12 children with Madhu, and they'd had 35 years of marriage or something like this. So she just could not understand how he did that to her, because for her, she was all in with this marriage. She gave it her all, her heart and her soul and her everything, and she never saw this coming. And to add salt to injury, this new second wife was a lot younger. She was as young as, in fact, she was a friend of her daughter. But I won't give anything else away. Just to say that I can understand why Florence brought this book up as the patriarchy in African literature, because it shows how women, or it shows in this particular instance, how Ramatolui feels that just because she's a woman, and also her friend, just because they're women, they're not given much consideration. When her husband took on a second wife, even her friend's husband was, it's the will of God and all this and that. And how can we change? Why should we change this if God has ordained that he should meet this girl and marry her? Then this is the way it should be. They don't give a second thought. There's no one who says, it's sad that it's happened this way. It was awful. It was all about the man. So the author, who was called Mariama Ba, she was, I think she was a great, as far as I've read, she was a great opponent for women. Let's say that women should be accepted as equals. And though I read that some people call her feminist, I also read that she disagreed with being called a feminist just because she thought the entrappings were too Western. And I can understand that, because even in feminism, you have your divisions depending on where and how you grew up. Getting back to the letter, I really enjoyed this. Very short, very easy to read. But I love the way she brings her message across, because when she was talking about how she realized what her husband had done to her, I really felt for Ramatolui. Really felt for her. I was getting so angry to this. as I was reading it. But as we go on, we see that Ramatului, she sort of calms me down also, because there's certain things that she realizes, and there's certain things that she accepts. And despite the way the way things happen, she manages nonetheless to make more of herself than just giving up and just accepting that, yep, this man has done this to me. Now I'm just going to give up with everything. She does better herself in it, and she gets to do things that she otherwise wouldn't have been able to do. I can't say too much, otherwise it's a short book. So if I say anything more, it'll be giving it away. But it is about empowering women, realizing that we're equals, and addressing cultures that kind of just, I guess, like, I would say subjugate, but yeah, and I guess it is actually subjugates women, because this is what Ramatului was facing, and giving men the excuses that it's nature, that they should take on otherwise, and why should we stop this? I found it a very powerful message, and such a lovely letter, series of letters. So I'd highly recommend it. Florence does give it a good. She does talk through it, and it's worth listening to her video clip, just because she also addresses other books that talk about patriarchy in African literature. Now I'm done. I think that was just an add-on, so I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.